My name is Carol Burkett, Deputy Chief of Staff to Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the second meeting of the Orange County Citizen Safety Task Force here at Barnett Park Recreation Center. It's my pleasure now to turn the meeting over to the Honorable Jerry L. Demings, Orange County Mayor.
Let me just say good morning to all of you and welcome to the second full task force meeting. Before we begin this morning, I just want to make a few acknowledgments. First, our co-chair, Pastor Dockett, his father passed just yesterday, so we offer our condolences on behalf of the citizens of Orange County to Dr. Doggett, and our prayers are with you and your family. And as we move forward in our agenda today, just as a reminder also, if you haven't paid your income taxes or you haven't filed, today is the deadline. It has to be postmarked in the mail and submitted today. We are going to begin with the invocation. We have Pastor Jim Coffin, who is going to lead us in the invocation, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance following that. And with that, we'll turn it over to Dr. Coffin.
Thank you very much. I've had the privilege of working with the Interfaith Council for a period of 11 years. I'm retired now from that. But one thing that has done is made me more aware of religious diversity within our society. And when I offer an invocation at a meeting such as this, I try to present something in such a way that those who are of faith will say amen, and those who are not of faith will say hear, hear, and we'll all go away having been blessed by it. So this morning I'd like to share a reflection that calls for tenacity and perseverance despite the kind of odds that we might face. And I'd like to begin by just quoting very quickly the Apostle Paul, who said, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we shall receive a harvest if we faint not." So he's saying, hang in there, however the challenge might be. And then I'd like to share a few excerpts from a father-to-son poem written about 100 years ago by the British poet Rudyard Kipling, and this is titled, If. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat these two impostors just the same, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve their term long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says, hold on. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. And so whether we're a son or a daughter, I'd like to thank all of you for your wisdom, your willingness to serve on this task force, and your willingness to hang in there until the job is done, because we will receive a harvest if we don't give up. Thank you.
All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'm going to very quickly here turn it over to the co-chairs, but before I do that, I wanted to begin with just a few introductory remarks for today. I want to once again thank all of our task force members for being present and for your willingness to share in the vital work that will be done. I was recently saddened to hear another tragic shooting occurred in our community on Easter weekend. To those families, our prayers go out to them who lost loved ones. Another example of a senseless act of violence that turned deadly as a result of an act of gun violence. I know that each of you are committed to preventing and reducing gun violence and violent crime, or you wouldn't be here today. Making the type of changes our community deserves takes the work of this body and the collective efforts of the entire community. Today's agenda highlights a few of the nonprofit agencies that are providing prevention and intervention programs and services to our children and families in Orange County. We also launched the Community Crime Survey last Tuesday, and we have received over 700 completed surveys at this point. I encourage our task force members to continue to distribute the survey as we engage our residents on solutions and strategies to combat gun violence and violent crime. Dr. Nelson is a former consultant and advisor to the county. During the last task force meetings a year or so ago, he made a quote. He said that this isn't hard work, but it's heart work, H-E-A-R-T. The work that you're doing is heart work. I know each of you are invested in this community, and I thank you for your willingness to help come up with solutions. And with that, I'm going to turn it over at this time to Pastor Coffin and the co-chair, Dr. Doggett, for further comments, and they will be managing and running the meeting today.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And I would ask that we introduce ourselves again, because it takes a bit of time for us to get acquainted with each other and to know who's who. And so once again, I will start from my right, and we will go counterclockwise. And again, I would ask that the county staff also introduce themselves so we become better acquainted with them as well. And I would just mention that two of those who will be introducing themselves are new members who weren't here last time. And we give them a very warm welcome, and they'll introduce themselves at the right time, but Laddie Calloway and also Twan Payton. So anyway, we'll start over here with Arnie.
Good morning. My name is Arnie Amaros. I'm representing District 4, Orange County.
Good morning. Barb Bergen, Executive Director of Crime Line.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Release your button.
All right. Good morning. Johnny Brinson, Deborah Clayton's Bridging the Gap.
Good morning. Charles Brown, Bridges International.
Good morning. My name is Chloe Johnson Bronson, representing District 1.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Coffey. I'm representing Orange County Public Schools.
Good morning. Dr. Jonathan Cox. I'm with University of Central Florida.
Good morning. I'm Danny Dawson. I'm a senior circuit judge here in the Ninth Circuit, Orange and Osceola County.
Good morning. My name is Sandra Fatmi Hall. I'm representing the Pine Hills Community Council.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Hartnett with Poverty Solutions Group in Circles, Central Florida.
Good morning. I'm Pastor Sabrina Jones, Orange County, representing District 2.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Lanning, representing the League of Women Voters of Orange County.
Good morning, Marquise McKenzie, representing District 6, Orange County.
Good morning, Sheriff John Mina, Orange County Sheriff's Office.
Good morning, Miles Moraine. Let your voice be heard.
Good morning, Nancy Ash, professor locally and at Oxford University.
Good morning, Captain Tanisha Bronskill, here for Chief Eric Smith, Orlando PD.
Good morning, Bill Vos, retired Chief Assistant State Attorney.
Good morning, Keisha Mulford, Chief of Staff, on behalf of the Honorable Monique Worrell.
Good morning, Lottie Calloway. My not-for-profit is Greater Footsteps Foundation.
Good morning, Twan Payton, retired FBI agent.
Good morning, Tracy Salem, Deputy Director, Orange County Intervention Subcommittee Chair.
Good morning, Angela Chestang, Orange County Citizens Commission for Children, supporting the Prevention Subcommittee.
Good morning, Juanita Beeson, Orange County Corrections, supporting the Prosecution Subcommittee.
Anthony Watts, Deputy Chief, Orange County Corrections. I am the Enforcement Subcommittee Staff Liaison.
Good morning, Carol Burkett, Deputy Chief of Staff to Mayor Jerry Demings.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your participation and your presence here. So, Dr. Doggett.
We're going to get right into our agenda, and I know this is a new system for everyone. Remember to turn yours off, I believe, after you've spoken, and then the people who will follow you will be able to speak well. Glad to see everybody on today. As I said, we have an ambitious agenda again, but it's our job, Pastor Coffin, to make sure we keep the train on the tracks and moving forward. So we're going to go right into the next item on our agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. You should have received those minutes already in your email, and we are now ready to entertain a motion that those minutes be accepted. Do we have anyone who will move it?
So moved.
It's moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion at all? All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. It is unanimously carried. Pastor Coffin?
Yes, at this time, we are giving opportunity for community members who have filled in a speaker card to come forward and to share their concerns with us. And we would ask you to note that we have a time allocated for each individual. And at this point, I have only one card, and that is from Nils Warren. And so, Mr. Warren, if you could please come forward, and we would ask that you come to the microphone here in the middle. And if there is any other name that has come in, if the staff would please bring that to me, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mr. Warren.
Honorable Chairs, Honorable Mayor. The Mayor has probably received some communication from me, this binder may look familiar to you, regarding issues we have in our neighborhood in the Bayview and area near Pershing and Conway Gardens. This binder contains 150 police reports or sheriff's reports for one house on Bayview. The problem continues unabated. There are some 25 known drug dealers, drug users, and other problem children in this house. The house next door to it is owned by the same guy. There's another house 1 block north of that that's occupied by some of the same people. In viewing our security footage in the neighborhood along Bayview and to the Upton Drive area, there's a steady stream, almost unabated, from one house to the other on foot by people buying and selling drugs. We have people casing houses, looking to burglarize cars, looking to burglarize houses, people stealing mail, forging checks that are stolen out of mailboxes. Although Captain Barrett, our local senior sheriff's representative in the area, is aware of it and is doing what he can, a lot of times when we address this problem to the powers that be, the response seems to be those things don't happen in that neighborhood. Yet they are happening in this neighborhood, and it's getting worse because it's going unchecked. Any response to that?
Well, first, let me just say thank you for bringing this to our attention. Of course, Sheriff Mina is there, and he may very well be familiar with it. I don't know if you have something that you wanted to pass off, but I think that we're very interested in it. It's a law enforcement issue, but it may be some other issues and maybe some code issues and things that Orange County government can get involved with. But if there's, in terms of the address, I'm not asking you to identify that publicly at this point. But if you would pass it off, Carol Burkett is my Deputy Chief of Staff. If you can give the specific address and information to her, we'll liaison with all the appropriate law enforcement authorities and county authorities. Okay.
Elizabeth Roby has already received a prior copy of this binder, which was somewhat thinner a few months ago when it was sent to her, so she knows the exact address. Code enforcement is also aware of it. There are animal control issues with a dog that's very aggressive that chases people. We're slowly getting that one dealt with. There are, in fact, fines running on 2 of these properties now totaling $140,000 since last November on the owner of those 2 houses for apparently illegally erected sheds which have people living in them, which is also illegal. And he's renting the house out like an apartment complex, which he is not zoned for. So there's a whole litany of issues that can be addressed to hopefully contain that problem. Someone just needs to take the action and do it.
Okay, so Ms. Burkett is right behind you. If you would just have a brief conversation with her, then we'll do the follow-up and give you an update.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. Unless there is someone else who I haven't received the application for, no one else, we'll go ahead and move on with the program.
All right. This morning I was up considering the issues that we're addressing here. And I must say that I am glad that we do have a mayor that understands the issues and is willing to address it. The idea of gun violence in the United States being the leading cause of death for teens and children, it means that we've got to do something. We've got to address it. And the process that's been set up by the mayor and his staff, I think, is a process that can lead to real change. We have subcommittees that have been meeting, and we're now ready to hear reports from those subcommittees and hear exactly where they are on the recommendations that have been made before and perhaps some new ones that might be made at the end of our process here. I'm going to ask that you hold your comments and questions, however, until the section of the program where there's open discussion, because we have a number of individuals who are going to be presenting on today. First up, we're going to have Lisa Early. Lisa Early is the co-chair of the Prevention Subcommittee. She's going to be followed by Dr. Tracy Salem, staff lead for the Intervention Subcommittee on behalf of Dr. Candace Jones, who is the co-chair. And then after that, we will have the Honorable Judge Dawson to provide an update on the Enforcement Subcommittee. And then last but not least, Pastor Coffin, who is the co-chair of this task force and did lead out on the meeting yesterday with the Prosecution Subcommittee. He will present. So please come forward in that order.
I'm presenting on behalf of Lisa Early for the Prevention Subcommittee. My name's Adam Hartnett. And we met yesterday afternoon and learned that under the leadership of Angela Chastain, Orange County staff have made some remarkable strides toward the recommendations made by the Prevention Subcommittee during the last convening of the Safety Task Force. And since we approach prevention with such a wide scope, we are narrowing our focus in the limited duration of this convening, confident that staff will continue to excel in many of the recommendations that we've already made. There are 4 of our 7 recommendations that we will be addressing, and if you want to follow along in the report, it's the booklet that was given to us last meeting. We're going to look at recommendation number 2 on page 17, expand, enhance access to effective youth and parenting, mental health and behavioral health programs. While we've made some good progress in this area, we are aware that the City of Orlando is implementing a model called Advanced Peace that has been working in other communities at addressing gun violence in American urban neighborhoods. So we'll be learning about this model and determining what recommendations we will need to make that make the most sense. We'll also take another look at our third recommendation on page 20 in your booklet. Transform the criminal justice system to reduce disproportionate arrests and incarceration of Black youth. We agreed as a subcommittee that while this is very much a preventative measure, it is something that must be addressed at the enforcement level. So we're recommending that the enforcement subcommittee spend some time with this recommendation that we made and see if it can be improved in any way. We're also taking a look at recommendation number 5, which is on page 23, reduce access to illegal firearms. This recommendation does need to be amended, not only because we have passed permitless carry at the state level in Florida, making no firearm illegal, but also because this recommendation is not specific enough about what can be done locally to address gun safety. We will invite some experts in this area to educate us on what's possible, update this recommendation, and tie it into the tie the education that we receive into our 7th recommendation on page 25, which is communicate key issues and programs to the community. Orange County now has a public information officer. I learned you can call it PIO yesterday. We are going to hear from this staff person to understand their strategy to incorporate information about the safety task force, the events and programs related to it. We will also make recommendations for education, information on federal, state, and local policies that affect gun violence and gun safety, and ways to take action to reduce gun violence, including gun safety programs and citizen-led advocacy efforts. Thank you.
Good morning. The intervention subcommittee met yesterday. We had a really robust meeting where we took the opportunity to review the 7 recommendations that were originally crafted and approved. There are 2 different recommendations that we are looking at possibly modifying. The first recommendation speaks about the 10-year vision and drafting a 10-year vision, where we realized we would like to modify that and adjust it to a 3-year vision. As in social services, things change so quickly that we felt like if we reduce the length of time, we'd be able to get a more prescribed definition of what a 10-year vision would look like. In addition, we're looking at adding more succinct recommendations below it. We are also looking at recommendation number 7, where it speaks about communication. We spent a really long time discussing how to communicate effectively. And one of the recommendations speaks about having a billboard. We're not sure that is the most lucrative or most important way for us to communicate. So again, we're going to go back and look at how we can communicate effectively with our community. What we heard is there's a lot of great work going on in Orange County, with Orange County government and with our stakeholders, and that a lot of our community is still not aware of all of the great work that is going on. So we are going to take this time to make sure that our community is aware of the great services. We're also going to invite new stakeholders and organizations that we didn't originally hear from, and this will give us a different broad array of looking at the recommendations to see if there's any recommendations we might want to add or add to some of the sub-recommendations. A lot of the conversation and intervention is also focusing around the mental health component, and we are looking at having mental health services provided in additional areas and at additional times. We're realizing that our mental health services are not as transparent, or not as available as some of our committee members would like them to be. So that is one of the areas that we are looking at possibly enhancing. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Judge Dawson. I'm the chair of the Enforcement Subcommittee. We met on April 13th. Couple of comments. First of all, the vast majority of our committee is brand new, both to the subcommittee as well as to the full committee, which is a little bit handcuffing as far as understanding exactly how the original subcommittee developed its recommendations. There was some conversation that perhaps a couple of those recommendations were not within the preview of the
County, but maybe within the individual law enforcement agencies. So we had that conversation. There was also an indication that recommendation number 4, there had been some progress made on that. One of the other comments I want to make is I'm a little bit surprised. We did have some IT issues as far as being able to hear each other and be able to hear on the screen, and one of the members who tried to appear virtually, but there was absolutely no participation from the community. And I just thought that was a little odd that we have an enforcement subcommittee that's looking at Orange County and the issue of gun violence and safety, and we didn't have one individual. Well, I think we did have one. Let me take a step back. I think we did have at least one that came and spoke, but it was not, as far as we could tell on the video, we did not have anyone coming in on the video. So hopefully as we move forward, we would like to hear more from the community. One of the things that we talked about for our next meeting was to contact the other law enforcement agencies that are not part of this group and not part of the subcommittee to talk about what they're doing individually in their agencies, and also to compile a list of community forums that have been that are happening all over Orange County. We discovered that there's a litany of forums that go on a regular basis by law enforcement agencies in Orange County, not just the 3 biggest ones, but all of the different agencies, and we wanted to try to compose at least some type of comprehensive list of those forums and basically what were they about, what was the focus of those forums, who normally attended, and so on. We also talked about taking a look at some specific programs or projects that were going on within Florida that we could look at. One in particular I was familiar with is in Gainesville, Florida, the chief of police there, and some of the things that he has been doing over the years, and perhaps getting some of those individuals to present at our subcommittee meetings. We do have our next meeting on May 11th at 2 p.m. And so that's the report of the subcommittee. Thank you.
The county staff has been working on finding a co-chair, two co-chairs for the prosecution committee. And so yesterday I filled in because those positions haven't been filled yet. The report that we had from the previous task force came up with 2 recommendations from prosecution. And one of them was what was called a geographic steward program, with the idea that prosecutors would try to sort of divide the region into specific subsets, and that the prosecutor would take, or prosecutors would take commit to being kind of a liaison to a specific region and try to understand more fully. Preferably it would be a region where they live, but that wouldn't always be available. But they would try to make sure that they are connecting with that community to where they have more firsthand experience. That particular recommendation has not really gotten off the ground. It was assumed that it would be both federal prosecutors and also state prosecutors. And it was pointed out that there was no funding really available for the state prosecution to do that kind of thing. There was limited personnel and an absence of funding, and so it hasn't taken off. However, it's not something that we're dropping and ignoring, and we wanted to check with Roger Handberg, who had previously served on the prosecution subcommittee and who is now the attorney for the Middle District of Florida, U.S. attorney for the Middle District of Florida, and see if he would, what his interest was, and then look at ways that we might get this to coordinate between the state and the federal. Also, there was a recommendation last time, and that was for a greater emphasis on civil citation as opposed to arrest, trying to deal with a lot of low-level crime and crime from beginning people who are not, who don't have a great track record in crime. Who do have a good record in crime. This is the first time. And that is going much better. So we had a fairly comprehensive report from Keisha, who's here, and telling what was being done at the state attorney's office. And it appears that one of the things is just greater utilization would be something that could be done. And so it was suggested that we look at ways that we might incentivize law enforcement to more regularly consider that option. And so one of the things is where you have your joint meetings of various county groups, law enforcement, et cetera, Mayor, that could be emphasized there. To try to make sure that it's utilized as much as we can use it, and that no one falls through the cracks who would have been eligible for civil citation. The committee is also just looking at ways to continue to tweak those two recommendations that were from the previous subcommittee, as well as now to begin brainstorming on any other things that we'd like to bring in that should be included for recommendations for next time. This time, I should say. So, thank you.
Thank you for those reports and for the robust discussions that have happened in the various subcommittees. I'd like to encourage everybody to please do your level best to attend your subcommittee meetings so that there's 100% participation. And by all means, feel free to speak up in those meetings. That's where the work product is made. That's where the sausage is made, if I can put it that way. So by all means, do the best you can to show up one way or another. Turn it over to you now, Pastor Coffin.
One of the highlights of today's program is that we're going to hear some reports on prevention and intervention, various programs that are being implemented by various entities within the county. And those groups that are going to be reporting are the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida and also Bishop Cabarrus and Redeeming Light Incorporated, Simeon Resource and Development Center for Men, Big Brothers, Big Sisters Incorporated, and Fresh Breath International, Boys to Men Mentoring, and Mount Zion Tabernacle Christian Church. And we're happy that these nonprofit agencies can be here today to talk about prevention and intervention and what's being done in the county already. And 4 of the agencies you will hear from are funded by the Citizen Safety Task Force funding, and 2 are funded by the Citizens Commission for Children. And these agencies are representative of what services and programs are found in each county commission district. And the first presentation that we'll hear from today will be the Boys and Girls Club of Florida, and they will discuss the Save Our Students program presented by Erica Dickerson, Vice President for Club Operations, and Bishop Cabarrus. And Bishop Cabarrus is in charge of Cabarrus Ministries International. And the Save Our Students program is throughout Orange County, and we'll focus on the things that are going on in Commission District 1. So thank you very much. Bishop.
Good morning, Mayor Demings, and to Co-Chair Coffin, Co-Chair Dr. Doggett, and to all of the task force. Just about 3 years ago, I had the opportunity to sit where many of you are sitting to speak concerning the issues that are being addressed today. And I want to publicly thank Mayor Demings for his proactive leadership in response to the crisis, with his familiar understanding of what's happening in our community as serving as Sheriff of Orange County, and then coming into the governmental leadership of the mayor of our county gave him a firsthand experience, but yet just not responding to it, but proactively putting things in place to ensure that we can see some resolve to some of these issues. And many of the public questions that come to me when I'm in the community, when the media is interviewing me, is what are the outcomes? What are you doing? Where's the funding going? Is it working? So I'm proud to be here today to respond publicly to the task force and to the public at large to those questions. I am proud to have collaborated a partnership with Orange County government and, of course, the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida, along with Cabarrus Ministries International, Law Enforcement and Park and Recreations for the Save Our Students Orlando initiative. It's a great opportunity to be a part of this group simply because I am a product of the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida. If it had not been for the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida, my brother and I may not have been who we are today because of the shaping that we received through this organization through mentoring and providing a safe environment so that children can not only have fun, but also be empowered to be productive within the community. But what makes this collaboration so unique with the Save Our Students Orlando initiative is simply because it's not just the Boys and Girls Club day-to-day operation. It is something beyond the day-to-day operation because it's during the after hours. We're all aware that a lot of time crimes are committed during after hours simply because children have idle time. They don't have anywhere to be, and if they are somewhere where it is not governed. There's no mentoring. There's no chaperones. There's no one to look after them or to provide an environment so it can be positive and they can have a great time. However, the Save Our Students outreach initiatives provide an opportunity for children to come to a safe space where there's a whole lot of fun, every type of activity that you can imagine that you'll later hear in our presentation happens there. But what I like about it most, that while we're having fun, while it is safe, it provides an opportunity for volunteers and the adults that engage that particular moment to build relationships with young people, because it's difficult to mentor anyone without having a relationship with them. And I believe that this initiative has been greatly successful simply because, as you will hear in just a moment, nearly 1,400 teens have been served over this period of time, and we have seen great outcomes in the lives of these children that have admitted themselves that if they did not have these activities to come to, they would not know where they would be, or they know that they would be in harm's way. What we have done a lot of in time past is focus on the challenges, those who are committing crimes, and what we need to do to regulate and rehabilitate them. And oftentimes there have not been things put in place to protect children who are not committing crimes, who are not doing anything wrong, but they are still at risk. Because as you can see, most of the shootings that took place over just the last few weeks, many of the people who were killed were innocent bystanders. One lady sitting on her porch. And as a result of sitting on her porch, is it a crime to be on your own porch? No, it's not. But unfortunately, in this day and time, it's unsafe. So this initiative has provided an opportunity for our children to literally be saved, to be saved from being shot and killed because they're out on the streets and no one is looking after them, and to also be saved from the wrong influences speaking into their life, but rather being in a safe place, having fun, where the right positive individuals are investing in them. I don't just collaborate with this effort. I attend most of the events, and I engage the young people that are there and the speakers along with myself that we invite in from the community to speak are lists of people that go from not just clergy, but even families who have been victimized by crime that are speaking to children saying, please, whatever you do, stay out of trouble. And even people who have had a dark path but have found the light and are moving in a different direction that comes in and provide positive talks to these young people. So I'm grateful to be a part of this initiative. I'm grateful to work along with Mac Reed and Erica Dickerson and all of the service directors of the 9 centers and the areas that we serve. And we have seen, which you'll hear in our presentation today, a lot of great work take place in District 1 in the Winter Garden area that was limited to some of these resources, but now along with all of the other resources they have in that area, now they also have an after-hours event that takes place during the summer time that provides a safe place for children. And I will conclude while I turn this over to Mac Reed and thank you as a task force for being here. And while some of you might not always be engaged in the areas where the high crimes take place, the reason why your wisdom and your words on this task force are so important is because none of us have the cure and the answer. If that was the case, this would be fixed. But collectively, all of us, with our experience, with our wisdom, with our expertise, can put our minds around this issue, and we can build a safer Orange County. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I turn the rest of the time over to Mac Reed.
Good morning. My name is Mac Reed. I serve as Chief Operations Officer for Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Florida. First, I would just like to say thank you to everyone in this room for all the efforts that are being put forth to keep our communities safe. We're very honored and blessed that you all have trusted Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Florida to be a partner with you along this journey that we're working so hard to eliminate gun violence. So thank you for that trust and support. I'll just kind of to echo Bishop Koberis's remarks, our Save Our Students Orlando initiative we feel was very successful. I'll recap a little bit about what we were able to accomplish last year, speak a little bit about what we're looking forward to this year, and then you'll hear briefly from Erica Dickerson, our Vice President of Club Operations, who'll talk about what we have going on in District 1 in Winter Garden. So last year, our Save Our Students initiative, we were able to host 29 events during the summer months. We hosted events at all 8 of our Boys and Girls Club Orange County branches, along with 2 additional Orange County Parks and Recreation sites and 1 Orange County Public School site as well. As Bishop Koberis mentioned, we served just shy of 1,400 teens. We're very proud of that accomplishment. This year, we're looking to grow the program and go from 29 events to 40 events. And we're starting the program a little earlier. We actually have events going on this month, April. We're not waiting until summer. So we have events going from April through September of 2023. A little bit about kind of the structure of the event. As mentioned, these events are held during non-typical kind of operational hours. So Fridays and Saturday evenings from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Our doors are open at Boys and Girls Clubs, and we're providing these fun, engaging events for the teens to come in and participate. Those types of events that you can imagine, things that draw the teens in, dances, midnight basketball, we had carnival-themed events. We've had inflatable games and things like that to draw the teens in. But like was mentioned, to get them there is the first step. And then that's where we feel the magic of Boys and Girls Club happens, with the relationships that are being built by not only our staff, but the volunteers, the caring adult role models that we have to surround the teens, to let them know there are opportunities and hope for them, and we work very hard to guide them in that direction. There's a lot of positive messaging that happens at these events. We don't just have the teens come and just play and have a good time. There's always a point to why we try to kind of show them what's possible in their lives, conflict resolution techniques, how to handle peer pressure, career exploration and opportunities, talk about academic success and support. All of that is part of these events that we're hosting at the club, so that we can try to really, build a complete youth that has a plan for what they're going to do, after their post-secondary, education starts. So we're very proud to be part of this initiative, and I'll bring Ms. Erica Dickerson, who's our Vice President of Club Operations, up a little bit now to talk a little bit about what we have specifically going on in District 1.
Good morning. Thank you, Mac, and thank you, Bishop, and thank you all for this opportunity. I do want to give a special thanks to Bishop because without his initiative and advocating for this program to happen, we wouldn't be able to expand our services to perform or to hold these events for teens in the community. But last year in District 1 in Winter Garden, we held 3 events. Over the course of the summer, and we were very fortunate to be able to partner with the Magic Gym as well as Winter Garden Police, where we had a lot of athletic competitions in that community. So from basketball to football, we also had DJs to come out to do some dances, inflatable games, and just lots of different fun, engaging opportunities. We really wanted to be sure that we can capture all different type of teens. So those, we know that most are interested in sports and competition. So our director at our West Orange branch wanted to make sure that we had a lot of competition. So he really worked closely with the Magic Gym to make sure that we were doing basketball tournaments at every event. And later on, he started adding in football competitions and different obstacle courses just to get them excited and motivated to participate as well. But, we know not every teen is interested in competition. So he made sure that we also included those sorts of activities that would engage those youth or those teens that may not be sports interested like me, but to give them something positive to be engaged in as well, such as inflatable different games, some music to listen to, and most importantly, food. These events are happening from 6 to 9 p.m. on Saturdays and Friday nights, so we want to make sure that we feed the kids. So we make sure that we provide them with lots of food while we know we promote healthy lifestyles. To get the teens engaged, especially in District 1, we wanted to make sure that we were feeding them things that they were interested in. So we had pizza, we had cookies, we had little giveaways and treats, but we really wanted to make it fun. We had incentives to encourage participation. We worked with the local schools just to get the word out of what was happening in Winter Garden, along with Bishop Cabarrus and his team helping us get the word out. So we're very fortunate to be able to serve Winter Garden. And that is our presentation for today. Thank you all again for this opportunity. Bishop, did you have anything to close out? Okay, thank you all.
Thank you very much for your input. And I would just mention that what they've just told you is one of the programs that is being funded by the Citizen Safety Task Force allocations that came out of our last series. Next, we'd like to hear from Pastor Beverly Brown, Executive Director of Redeeming Light Incorporated, a suspension, prevention, and intervention program, and this is going on in Commission District 2, and it also is funded by the Citizen Safety Task Force. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me and our organization. I'm Beverly Brown, and I want to start by saying the need is the call. Why do we do what we do? Because the need is the call. We started in 1999 just minding our own business, and someone came into our office and said, there are kids in the street. What are you going to do about it? We said nothing because ours were not in the street. But on second thought, we dug deeper and said we've got to go beyond the 4 walls. And so our mission at Redeeming Light Community Service is to take a group of youth and to show them their potential behind their out-of-school suspensions. I did some research, and in 2017, 2.7 million students across our nation were suspended out of school. To bring that home, when we started this journey in 1999, 30,000 students were suspended from Orange County Public Schools. We do not have actual figures today, post-pandemic, of the number of students that are out of school suspended, but I can tell you that we only see a fraction of them, and it is our joy to bring them into our centers and to enhance their abilities to keep up during their time out. In fact, that's where our name came from, Keeping Up Out of School Suspension Plan. How do we take a child who is disenfranchised because of a suspension and keep them academically engaged? We do that by getting their assignments from their schools and sitting with them until they catch up with as many assignments as they can, getting credit for it so that when they go back to school, they can get back in cadence with their class without being frustrated. I bring you great greetings from these students and parents who have said, thank you so much. And if we could continue to the next slide. I think I have a clicker here. Yes, thank you. We can tell you that there we are with our Apopka site at Patmos Chapel, where we have partnered with the police force to come in sometimes and to speak to our students, to show a happy face to the side of law enforcement. We also have students that just make innocent mistakes. Sometimes, as a matter of fact, when I left this morning of one of our sites, one of our students had their head down simply because she had not eaten breakfast. Some of her responses to what happened at school was a result of, I just need a hug and I just want something to eat. But upon further working with this student, what I can tell you is that she is smart with a 3.0 GPA, but she just made an innocent mistake. So, why do we do what we do? Because we want to be a part of the solution to help our students graduate. We want to be a part of the solution that makes a difference. So far, since August of 2022 to date, we have seen over 200 students, and that is just a fraction of the number of students that have actually been suspended. We are grateful for those 200. Why do we continue when in the face of such danger? Because we love these kids. We also want to say that these students need a safe place to go. We have a site in Eatonville, and we have a site in Apopka, as stated, and we also are in collaboration with a site in Pine Hills. Orange County Public Schools has 2 sites as well, so our families have options as to where they can go and what is most convenient for them. Our sites do have 2 certified teachers, one K through 5 and one 6 through 12, and that would be me. We also have a reading specialist and a math specialist. I wish I could claim the glory for the math specialist, but I cannot. I am the science, the biology, the language, and the history, and that is what I work with to get these students involved. We also partner with our own community to bring in mentoring services where we know that sometimes what the students need is beyond academics. They need a touch. And so we offer behavior modification, conflict resolution. We also offer music because we have found that students learn better with a beat in their head. And so we do offer music education. We also offer health education. We are very grateful for Orange County Public Schools that brings in breakfasts and lunches every day to these students. We have also recognized that some of these students are homeless, and so for those that may be just a little embarrassed, we pull aside those lunches and those breakfasts and quietly pack their mom's car when they leave for the day so that that student or that family will not have to go without food. We have also found that when parents come to our sites, they are completely frustrated and often are at their wits' end and saying, I don't know what else to do. As a result of that, we offer parenting classes. Parenting, we have given a name to it. We call it SUP, to make it more attractive for younger parents. It is straight up parenting, where we just simply teach parental curriculum that will help our parents get through the navigation of parenting in this generation. We are so grateful for the Citizens Safety Task Force and our collaborative partners that make it so much easier to do what we do. We are at the grassroots, we are the roots, and we are working to build a tree of excellence with our children. I started this journey with a different color hair, Mr. Mayor, and our distinguished guest. I started when my hair was black, and as a result, I can tell you, it has been a journey that has been oftentimes laborious. I have cried with students, I have cried with parents, but most of all, I have rejoiced when I have seen students walk across the stage to graduate, knowing that a suspension is just a dot in their existence and they can go beyond it. I am grateful that we have this program where students do not have to loiter in the neighborhood getting in trouble. We can help curb some of the crime when they know they have a place to go. We can help curb some of the teen pregnancies when these girls or children are not left alone at home to do what they want to do or wander the streets. And so I am grateful for the opportunity for this presentation, and I am grateful for the funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the mayor just mentioned to me that in giving reports, not only here, but in other situations, we're very interested in the result-driven type of report. And we'd like to be able to compare what percentage have we seen an improvement in this or in that and so on. And so to keep that in mind here and in other situations, because funders are always interested in, you know, the data, the statistics about the impact that's being made. We'd like to, at this time, welcome Larry Williams with the Simeon Research and Development Center for Men, and he will discuss their fatherhood program. And this is from Commission District 3, and this also is one of the projects that's been funded by the Citizen Safety Task Force.
Thank you so much, and good morning. I'm the Executive Director of Simeon Resource and Development Center for Men, and I'd like to give you a brief overview of our origin and evolution as we've changed and grown since we started. During my tenure with the Health Department, I identified some unmet needs among men of color. And so based on my training, you just can't think or see, observe things. You've got to have data to back up what you think is going on. And so I conducted research, and I looked at local, state, and national data and found that across the board that black and brown men were being disproportionately impacted by their environment and things going on. And so I also found that there were 4 categories that we needed to address if we're going to improve the outcome of this population. In terms of health, we know that you just can't talk about exercise and nutrition, which are very important, but with this population, you have to address the social determinants of health, those things that impact them, such as dealing with racism and other issues as well. In health, we also found that 12% of the black male population had an unidentified mental disorder. And that's why part of this, you have these issues going on. In terms of education, we noticed that the graduation rate had fallen tremendously. And of course, incarceration, we're familiar with that. Very interesting with the employment. During 2003, when I did the research, 2001, we found that 25% of black males in this country were permanently unemployed. And those are glaring, staring, information to be shared to other people. So what we did is I convened a meeting with men and women and to discuss what I have found. And we all agreed that there needed to be an entity to address these issues and drive the issues as well. And so the Simeon was formed. Next. So if you look at our mission statement, you'll see that it's slightly different from our founding purpose. And what initially we did, we developed strategic partnerships with entities that can address each of these issues. We developed a partnership with Orange County Public Schools and had an on-site GED program, which, by the way, was one of the most successful GED programs that they've had. We also developed a partnership with Orange Blossom Family Health Center in order to have them navigated into the healthcare system. We also work with the prison system and also Orange County Corrections to develop educational programs and reentry services as well. We had an employment program on site and was able to provide employment training and placement for these individuals. Here is our area of proven experience in addressing violence among 16 to 24 years old. We have served some of the most violent individuals in Orange County because they were being referred to us from the prison system, from the local jails, from area churches. They were all referring these people to us to receive the services that we were offering. But I want to talk about a couple of the programs pertaining to the 16 to 24 years of age. The Rites of Passage program is a program to save the children. And so there are weekly meetings where the children will come in and we'll have weekly discussions. They had to become familiar with their environment. They had to read the newspaper, to watch the news, so that we could discuss issues going on within their community. We also had a component where we trained the parents to become advocates. So the child is having an issue in school, we train them to set up a parent-teacher conference. Here are the things that you need to say. And often we would go with the parents to be there to coach them during that session. Very successful program, Adopt a JIT, which is a program with Orange County Corrections Youthful Offender Program. What we did, we had a leadership program where the youth who were incarcerated would go through a 12-week course and we'd discuss various issues. And then at the end of that, if the youth wanted a mentor, we would partner them with local ministers. And one of the success stories is Reverend Kimbrough, who mentored one of the young men there when he was 13 years old. He couldn't read, he couldn't write, and he'd just been on the street at 13 selling drugs and involved in gangs and so forth. But he and his wife stayed with that young man, and until he was released, when he was about 19 or 20 years old, and then he left prison with a high school diploma, had taken some college courses, and is doing extremely well. Partnership with the Holden Heights Front Porch. I love this program, the Youth Empowerment Academy. Holden Heights had an opportunity to get some funding. I came up with the idea and wrote the grant for them. They got it. We work with youth, mostly Haitian youth, in the Holden Heights community. And we would have weekly sessions with them, and they would come in and we talk about certain issues, such as choices, and we talk about violence, we talk about other issues. And those kids that completed that first segment went on to enroll in our leadership program. We prepped these young people for a trip to Washington, D.C. And so for 6 months, we prepped them, flew them to Washington, D.C. to meet with their congressional delegation. And they each took turns in terms of talking about violence within their communities. They talked about seeing a dead body on the way to school and how that impacted them. And it was well received. And one story I'd like to share with you, one of our youth was late for the weekly group meeting. And so one of the students called him and said, "Hey, man, where are you?" What had happened is Harry's home had been invaded by another youth while the family was away, and Harry decided that he was going to get a gun and kill the young man that invaded his house and stole whatever he stole from the house. But the young man reminded Harry that, listen, remember what Mr. Larry and Ms. Sharon told you about leadership and doing the right thing. And he put that gun down, and today that other young man is alive because he remembered what he had learned in our group. And today, we still see those young people. They call us when there are needs. They will call us for advice, and so we have maintained those relationships with them. And then finally, the Fatherhood Initiative. And this is very important. It's very important because research tells us that if a father is actively engaged in the lives of his children, the children tend to be healthier, they do better in school, they're less likely to become teen parents, and they're less likely to be involved in the juvenile justice system. So with that information, we implemented in the CCC program for our young fathers. And in terms of recruitment, basically, we utilize our network of community people, young people who have come through the program will actually refer people to us for the fatherhood program. And so if you look at the breakdown, of course, of the Fatherhood Initiative here, we target communities, District 3, but we also have clients from Winter Garden, from Paramore, Pine Hills. They come from all over, and we serve them. Now, we're unique in that we not only have classroom sessions, we've also conducted sessions on front porches, in people's front yards, on the street, wherever we could find them to conduct those sessions. We utilize the 24/7 DAD curriculum, which is a theory-based curriculum, theories of change, and it's comprised of 12 sessions, and one session builds upon the other session. And very important things within that is that we talk about what it means to be a man, and also a father's role, which is very important. And what I have learned over the years is that one of the main issues that we have to address with these young men who had an absentee father is that the father wasn't there, and how that impacted the young man, and how it's important that they are engaged in their children's lives. And so we have those discussions. We also incorporate normative beliefs about violence and gun use. And so we'll ask them questions such as, in general, is it okay to use a threat to use a gun or a knife against another person if they have insulted you or disrespected you? And the answers from that could be, it's perfectly okay, it's sort of okay, it's sort of wrong, or it's really wrong. And what we're trying to do is to learn their thought processes. What do you think about these issues, so that we can address those issues during the group session. And if you talk about Project Impact, we've served over 70 fathers since October 1. 100% of our program participants have demonstrated an increase in knowledge of parenting skills. 100% of our program participants demonstrated an improvement in knowledge of resources or successful community linkages. Also, what we can tell you is that many of our fathers have now enrolled in a GED program. We have those that are involved in apprenticeship programs. And a previous participant is a student at UCF. We can also tell you that a lot of the previous clients that we served in 2008 are now bringing their children into our center to be served as well. And so we have the impact. And again, I want to thank you for this opportunity to present what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation. And next we're going to have Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and they will tell about their youth mentoring programs led by Ms. Glenn Marie Hamilton and Donette Taylor, Director of Programs, and this is taking place in Commission District 4, and this is funded by the Children's Service Funding. And so thank you very much, and I should have mentioned earlier that we are taking questions during the question time, and so if you've made notes along the way, you can ask the questions at that time, rather than interrupt the presentations for the questions at this time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm Donna Tate. I'm the Director of Program of Big Brothers Big Sisters. Now, people always ask me, why do I work with youth? The only answer I ever came up with is, if not me, then who? So as a parent of a teenager child who's in middle school and an AAU track coach, I also understand the importance of making sure the youth in our community has the support system they need to be successful. So I totally understand. So I'm going to turn it over to my wonderful CEO, Glenn Marie Hamilton, to share our wonderful organization of the things we do for the youth in our community.
Good morning. First, I would like to thank you all for inviting us. Thank you for the funding that we received through Orange County. That is so important. And also thank you to the other agencies that are doing such great work in prevention and intervention services. As a criminology major from Florida State, I completely understand that prevention is truly the way to go. We want to make sure that we get to kids before they start making choices that may not be the best for them. And also being raised in Orange County, West Orange High School, that it is important and it is great to be a leader of an organization working in the community that I was raised in. So next slide, please. So a little bit about Big Brothers Big Sisters, just a brief history. We were founded nationally in the early 1900s, and Ernest Kent Coulter was working in New York as a city clerk, and he just felt that if there was someone who cared about these boys, that they probably wouldn't be where they are right now, which is going through the court system. Unfortunately, over 100 years later, that's still the case, that a lot of times we meet kids that if there was just one person who showed an interest in them, they probably wouldn't be where they are today. Next slide. So at Big Brothers Big Sisters, our mission is to create and support one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth. And we want to make sure that all youth achieve their full potential. And we understand that every youth's full potential may look a little bit differently. So accountability. So we want to partner not just with parents, with our volunteer bigs, but also with community members and organizations, because we want to make sure all the youth in our program have higher aspirations, greater confidence, and better relationships at home and with their peers. And we want to make sure that they avoid risky behaviors, and we want to make sure that they have educational success. Next slide. A little bit about our mentoring program. So we offer a community-based mentoring program. That's probably the one that you've heard of. It is a one-to-one mentoring program where a volunteer big is paired with a little, and within our program, we call that a match. And so we want at least a 12-month commitment from them. It does sound like a lot, but studies that were made in the 1990s showed that that 12-month commitment was truly important to make a long-lasting impact on the life of a child. We ask them to meet for at least 6 hours a month. Surprisingly, a lot do many more hours than that. And they do activities around the community, including free or low-cost activities. We always ask them to do free or low-cost activities. And they do things such as life skills, everything from budgeting. They do everyday activities, going to the grocery store, saying, hey, if you had $50, how would you do groceries? Changing a tire, painting, studying, and also talking about relationships. And of course, sports and arts and crafts, depending on the needs of the child. And our site-based program, that is where they meet at a designated site. So at a school, even virtually as well, we have that option where they can meet virtually. It started off during COVID, and it kind of just kept on happening. People were interested in that, and that is really great for some of our more rural areas. And then our Bigs with Badges program, which is where we partner with local law enforcement to help bridge that gap between the community, between the law enforcement and the communities that they serve. I would say that our community-based program is, again, the core, is how Big Brothers Big Sisters was started, but we have, again, gone under site-based and small group mentoring as well. Next slide. A little bit about who we serve. So we serve youth between the ages of 6 and 16. Now, as I say, if all parties are happy, we actually keep the match open until the child graduates from high school. And you may wonder, like, well, can one volunteer be matched with multiple kids? In our community-based program, it is one-to-one, because a lot of times the kids in our program, they have siblings at home. And it's great for them to have a mentor that is just for them. Each child in the program gets an individualized case plan. They have individualized goals. And so first the volunteer works on developing that relationship with them, and then they work on those individual goals based off of the interviews with the parent and the child. A lot of the youth in our program do come from a single parent household, both single mother and single father, and some of them don't actually live with their parents. They may live with a grandparent, an aunt, or an uncle. Over 50% of our youth have a parent that has a history of incarceration or is currently incarcerated. They receive free or reduced lunch, about 75% of the kids in our program. And they may be performing below grade level, have poor attendance, or behavior in school. Next slide. But one thing is common with all of the kids in our program. They all want a mentor, which is very important. This is a voluntary program, as I say. So the volunteers are there willingly, and so are the families and the kids. And they really just need someone to listen to them. One of my favorite stories is when we asked the little what his favorite thing about his big was that he shows up when he says he's going to. And for that little who had a history, his father didn't show up when he said he was going to, that was important to him. It wasn't the activities they did, it wasn't the conversations, it was just he shows up. He says he's coming at 11, he shows up at 11. Next slide. A little bit about our funding. So we do get funding through foundation grants, government grants such as the Orange County government, our Florida Department of Education, which focuses more on grades, special events, individual and corporate donors, and pass-through funding from Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. And next slide. And finally, our outcomes. So how do we measure those outcomes? So first and foremost, we get report cards on all of the children in our program from the time that they start, and we get them every quarter. So parents love getting those emails. Hey, don't forget to send us the report cards. And because we have built a great relationship with the parents and the families in our program, they send us the report cards, and we track that. Have their grades improved? Has attendance improved? Are they, before it said performing below grade level, and now it says that they are at grade level? We complete surveys as well. So within the surveys, we ask questions about juvenile justice involvement. Has there been any new or continued juvenile justice involvement since you've come into the program? And over 90% of our kids do not have any type of juvenile justice involvement since they became a part of our program. We also ask about school suspensions, house behavior, and also relationships with parents and guardian and their peers as well. We also look at the match length. We want all of our matches to be at least that 1 year. We do have some upcoming opportunities for short-term mentoring that'll be at specific sites, and we're really excited about that. But we want to make sure that the matches hit that at least 1 year. And then the monthly match support contacts. So every month, our team, we don't only interview and match the volunteer bigs and the littles, we actually do monthly match support contact. We talk to every volunteer big. We talk to every parent and guardian and every little. We know what's going on with each and every little. We follow up with them monthly to see how progress is going. We refer them to services if needed. But also we hear the great stories. That's where we hear, there's surveys, report cards, but that's where we hear the little things about how, when we ask a parent, hey, so have you seen any improvements in your child's life since they've been with their big? Yes, we have. They cleaned their room. What do you mean? Well, the big made a deal with the little that they won't go out and do activities together unless the little has cleaned his room. For that parent, that was huge. So that's where we hear those stories during those monthly match support contacts. And, truly, working for a nonprofit can be difficult, but truly hearing those stories is what makes an impact in our lives as well. Is that it? Yep. But that is it. So again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for the invitation and for the opportunity to serve the youth in Orange County. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the next presenter will be from Fresh Breath International, Boys to Men Mentoring. And Pastor Daniel Ings will tell us a bit about this organization. And it is also funded by the Children's Citizens Commission for Children.
Well, good morning. I am Pastor Daniel Ings, the founder and director of Boys to Men Mentoring Program, here with my lovely wife, Mrs. Naomi Ings. And we're here to talk about this program today. And thank you for this opportunity, Mayor, and to the task force for allowing us to stand to share. Boys to Men Mentoring Program stands on a statement of Frederick Douglass, that it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And throughout my course of working with youth within the school system and community-based prevention, I envisioned and I can see where the bus was going from the schoolhouse and headed to the jailhouse. And I felt that it was my responsibility to stop that bus and to rescue as many boys as I could, to be able to rescue them and to give them opportunity to have a successful life and be productive citizens in the community. And so therefore, in 2016, Boys to Men Mentoring Program was established.
Part of our objectives here for Boys to Men Mentoring, one of the things we recognize is that all of our children, I would say 95% of our children come in with ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences. And so with those ACEs, we recognize that in order for us to meet our goals and objectives that we have with our children, that we needed to train our mentors and our staff. So part of our goal is to get all of our mentors and our staffs are all trained on trauma-informed care. And so with that training, we're able to work on building healthy relationships, building communication skills, engaging with them with our curriculum, setting goals, and self-regulation, which is a really big one, is self-regulation and teaching them how to control their anger and demonstrate positive changes in their behavior, even when they're in school and in the community. Our next objective would be job skills training and financial literacy. In that, we recognize that in our community, many of our boys, many of our participants, they idolize the drug dealer. They idolize what they see on the streets. Why? Because it brings an income. And if they're unable to have an income and they're dependent on a mom who has 6 children, and so they're not able to get decent shoes to wear to school or certain things, we want to take that obstacle and that challenge out of their life. So what we do is we do resumes with them. We teach them how to do applications. We take them to get haircuts and prepare them for interviewing skills in order to meet those criteria so that they are employable. And third but not least objective is our passport to exposure. We recognize that many of the participants that we work with on a daily basis, they never see outside of Ivy Lane. They never see outside of Mercy Drive. They never see outside of Pine Hills. And sometimes in order to dream bigger, you got to see bigger. So part of our goal is to make sure that we establish areas of opportunity for them to be exposed on a greater level, as you'll see as we move forward into our presentation. These are the current zip codes that we serve.
Where do we do it? B2M East, we have Boys to Men Mentoring Program that's now expanded to the east side of Orlando, and we set up at the Citrus Square Apartments, serving Sector 4. Also B2M West, we set up there at the Orlando Repertory Theater, serving Sectors 2, 3, and 5. Our Fit for Life program at Rock Lake and Hankins Park Recreation Centers, serving Sectors 2, 3, and 5. And we have now expanded with a parenting program called LEAD. That stands for Leadership, Empowerment, and Development, and these take place at the Orlando Union Rescue Mission and also the James R. Smith Center, Sector 2. How do we do it? We continue to keep showing up. Consistency and building of relationship. Our Fit for Life program operates every Tuesday. The boys come together and discipline through fitness. 3 areas that we target, and that is mental health, nutrition, and also physical fitness. We want our boys to be fit for the future. Also, our life skills sessions that take place Wednesdays and Thursdays at the Orlando Repertory Theater. Various skills from anger management, academic enrichment, conflict resolution, goal setting, all these things take place in our life skills sessions, team building, understanding that these boys grew up in neighborhoods where they constantly see violence and fighting, and so we teach them about brotherhood, how to come together, how to love each other, and love each other's differences. My wife said it earlier, exposure is key. We take the pride in doing a college tour trip every single year. As you can see on the screen, this past year, 2022, 32 boys flew to New York City, and we toured Medgar Evers College as well as Temple University in Philadelphia. We've also been to Washington, D.C. 27 boys went to Washington, D.C., and also Nashville, Tennessee. And for them to be able to be exposed in the area of homecoming week, to see pep rallies, to see a football game, being able to enjoy the museums that are there in those particular cities, things that they've seen on television, they're able to actually see it there personally. And it causes them to place their goals in front of them and also maintain those goals and how to achieve those goals because they're able to be exposed in that capacity. Mentor support and services. We show up. We believe, I'm sorry, I'm trying to click and talk. We believe in what we promise these boys, we make it happen. We understand that consistency is absolutely key because someone has promised to show up in their lives and never came, or they came into their lives and they suddenly disappeared. And so therefore we support them at their football games, basketball games, track and field. We support their victories as they get their driver's license. We take them to get their driver's license. We teach them how to drive. Being able to celebrate them when they bring their report cards to us, we're able to give them little small incentives for them to keep going and to keep them encouraged to do the right thing. As you can see on the screen, this one young man who was inducted into the National Honor Society, his father is currently incarcerated. And so therefore, the big smile that you see on his face because someone took out the time to come to show him support as he continues to grow. He will be a senior in high school next year, and we're definitely proud of this young man. So we definitely believe in showing up to celebrate their victories and their accomplishments.
We stride ourselves on community partnerships. We recognize that we can't do this alone. Some of the community partners we have is with the Wendell Carter Foundation, the Orlando Magic. Wendell Carter comes out and talks to our boys occasionally. The Orange County Sheriff's Department. I am so grateful that this year they took it up a notch because normally, you know, we're inundated around Christmas time for the younger ones, but no one looks out for the high schoolers. So we got Toys for Tots and all of those angel trees. But this year, the Sheriff's Department allowed high schoolers to go. And so you see some pictures of our boys actually doing the shop with the cop to see law enforcement on a different angle than what they see in the street on the news.
Various positive alternative activities that we do with the youth. As you can see, we had a movie night there at the Repertory Theater. We're moving. Field trips, we take pride in that, exposing the boys in different areas, from fishing, fun spot, just different areas that we can take them to bring exposure in their lives.
Community service is big. We believe in teaching them to give back into their community. As you can see here, we had taken our mentees out to a Guardian Care nursing home where they were helping the elderly decorate Christmas trees, and they were also decorating the area in which they were sitting. And so it's important for us to let them know that we're not just entitled, we're just not getting from our community, but you got to give back and respect your community. And also you see here them giving back in the community, cutting lawns and beautification of the neighborhoods.
Employability skills we want to provide to our teenagers. As you can see on the screen, 11th grader at Jones High School celebrating, just showed up one day as he is working his first job. And also one of our high school graduates who graduated about 3 years ago. He's now a hiring manager at that same McDonald's.
Job training skills. We have a lot of entrepreneurs that are mentors, and they take our young guys out, and on the weekends we do individual mentoring, and they are able to go out and learn skills with our entrepreneurs. Here you'll see a couple of them doing renovations as far as home improvements.
One-on-one mentoring is absolutely key. We believe in building a relationship. This is how we get to know what's taking place behind the scenes in their lives. If we're not careful, even watching in the school, sometimes we attack the surface behaviors that we see. But sometimes having that sit-down conversation to find out why they do what they do is very important.
And at each session, we do serve a hot meal. And as we stated earlier, we did add a parenting component because we realized that a lot of our boys were going back into a toxic environment. So now we're taking the step further to reach out to the parents to give them and provide them with the support that they need to help their children. And as you can see on the screen, some of our sessions going on with our parenting sessions. We want to talk about some of our accomplishments that we have here with Boys to Men Mentoring. Since we've been in existence, we've served over 200 boys. In the last year, we've completed over 2,600 mentoring hours. 98% of our seniors graduate on time. 75% of our seniors continue into a post-secondary education. 30% of our seniors receive full scholarships, whether it was academic or sports. 10% of our seniors join the military. 97% of our juveniles have not reoffended once they have entered into our program. 90% of our participants increase their GPA while they're in the program, and 90% of our program participants increase their self-regulation, and this decreases suspensions and disciplinary referrals.
So we know that mentoring absolutely works. Another testimony on the screen, a young man that entered the program while he was in middle school. He currently graduated about 3 years ago, and as you can see on the screen, he went from D's and F's to all A's and 1C his senior year. Single mom, hard times, but because of being in the program, we were able to follow him through, and he's successful today.
And we're appreciative to all of our funders that we do work with, but we want to highlight we could not do what we do on the capacity that we do without the funding from the Orange County Commission Citizens for Children. We do receive funding from Orange County Sheriff's Office, the Orange County Mayor's Matching Grant, as well as My Brother's Keeper. And we could not do what we do without our funders. So for that, we say thank you. We also have collaborations in the community. As you can see, we have the Sheriff's Office come out. We have the Police Department come out, working with our children on a daily basis. As we get ready to close, we want to highlight one of our young men.
Mr. Tyree Bryant was my very first participant. He entered the program when he was an 8th grader, and he was with us throughout his high school and now his college career. Just a few days ago, he entered the NCAA transfer portal and had 20 D1 schools that were interested in recruiting him, where he is now signed with Santa Clara in California. And we're so very proud of him. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And now we'll go to our last presenter, Pastor Stanley Murray, who will discuss with us the Mount Zion Tabernacle Christian Church's Youth Mentoring and Tutoring Program, and this takes place in Commission District 6. Thank you very much, Pastor Murray.
Thank you for having me. We should never put a preacher behind a preacher. Amen. I'm excited to be here. I was blessed with an opportunity back in 1995. I started in a primary job of law enforcement, and I was given an opportunity to travel in areas of all 6 districts. And while I worked there, I began to start a program just simply checking on children, seeing how they're doing, making sure that we're following through with their classes or going to school or whatever the case may be. And my beautiful wife, with all her wisdom, said, "You need to put this on paper." And so we decided to have a program way back called What's Up Mentoring. It was in primarily this area here. As we grew and we did what we could do, I was also in the military at the same time. I was retired in 2008 for the United States Navy. And in 2015, I was selected to go to President Obama's 21st Century Community Policing in Washington, D.C. And while I was there, we were in this room and we were all talking as law enforcement officers, and they wanted to know what was our role as law enforcement officers. And one gentleman raised his hand and he said, our role is to be warriors. We're warriors on the street. We're to take away the drugs, take away the gangs. And another young lady raised her hand. She said, we're to be guardians. We're supposed to watch over the public and the public safety and make sure that they were taken care of. And all of a sudden I heard this voice, and this voice said to me clearly, whatever happened to servant? We're called public servants. When we retire, we're not given 25 or 30 years retirement of warring or guardian, and those are words that they use. I'm not saying they were wrong. However, at the end of the day, we're giving our reward of retirement from years of service. And so I thought about how I could continue to do that program, and when we started our church 12 years ago, I still wanted to maintain a relationship with our community. I asked our youth when we first started, what do you want? I know what we can provide, but what do you want and what do you need? And the children came up with 12 things that were very profound to me that we teach about on a monthly basis. One of them is knowing myself, boundaries and beliefs. Integrity, what is it really? Positive attitude, do I have to have one? Positive choices, mine or influenced? Respect, is it a two-way street? Working on my abilities. Communication, talk back if you can. My future, my focus. College or trade school. Mental health, am I okay? Social media, the responsibility of having it. And mentorship, returning the favor. As we begin to go through those things every month, these children that we have that are part of our program not only begin to just learn, but they begin to share, and we begin to learn from them, because this new generation is much different, I must say, than I grew up in. They're much more educated. The question is, are they teachable? Are we able to give them the environments that they're able to express themselves in a safe area and not feel that they have to be slighted because they do have opinions that they do need some refining on? So as we look here, our next slide, who do we serve? Well, we mostly deal with our children between 8 and 18. I kind of like to have children that can go to the restroom on their own. They're able to take care of themselves to some extent. And in the designated zip codes of Orange County, we have dealt with them all. And in the midst of that, we teach them not just on a weekly basis, but on the school holidays and during the summer, that they're entitled to come and be a part of what we have at our location on Silver Star Road. We even open it up. They can bring any friends or cousins or relatives that are even visiting for the holidays or for the summer, that we can always partake with them as well. But most of the time, we're giving them the opportunity when they first come in, the family is given a risk assessment. We are, I guess, proud to say our ministry has a full-time mental health ministry. Clinicians, social workers, those who deal in psychology and all the other things that I can't really pronounce. But all those words that we need to help get those children, not just the one that we're dealing with, but the entire family as a whole. There's parenting classes given once a month, every fourth Monday night by Zoom. So parents don't even have to try to physically get to the building. Our youth sessions are in-house, but we also run it live that they can come in on Zoom and partake if they can't make it on that day. Next slide. Our services are given educationally, and social skills support is given. But we also do various background on our people that come in and volunteer for us. We try to get subject matter experts that know more than we do but are willing to serve. And those opportunities have opened many doors where we have been connected with in various parts of the county. And thank you. How do we measure our success? Well, most of all, we have to document. We have to give data. We have to provide those resources. And with that, we're proud to say in our next slide here that we deal in the realm of repeat violent involvement or offenses. Right now, at this point, we're showing 100% of our children have not committed or recommitted any crimes in our program. They might be part because they know I'm the police, but that's irrelevant. But I'm very, very adamant. I look at their Facebook pages. I check where they go to school. I monitor how they're getting to school. I reach out in those areas with those parents, and we communicate on a regular basis. But the main goal is to let them know that they're loved. One key component about knowing what love really is love is correction, love is direction, and love is protection. And so we help them understand that what we're giving them is nothing more than love. And as long as they see it as love, they'll understand it as love. If they don't, then they'll see it as discipline, which kind of turns around how they review and how they observe what we give them. We're also proud to say that in our JP5, we do attendance and as well as how they're handling in school. We're proud to say that we have a 98% reduction in any of our children committing or recommitting with their attendance of school. We also involve our parents with bringing their paperwork of what they're doing in school as well as how they're having any issues. And we designate some of our leaders that come out and they continuously work with them. A lot of it's, believe it or not, by phone. Children seem to, you call them, they will answer the phone, you text them, they hit you right back. Strangest thing I've ever seen. But it works for them, and so we work in those realms and areas that we can. We've even got them where they've created their own podcasts. They're able to go on live and talk about what they think their generation needs. And so it's been a very blessing for that. Our program funding has been very good this year. We thank the people that have helped us and those that are continuing to help us, and we do our best to do what we can with what we have. But we're not really worried about the money. It's all about value. And what you value in, you'll pour into. We currently have about 28 children that we deal with, and I always tell them, I'm not so worried about quantity as I am quality. I'm not talking about quality children. I'm talking about quality service. If we have 400 kids and we're not really reaching the numbers that we should in quality, then I don't have to have that many children. The ones that I do have, we pour into on a daily basis, and we make them ambassadors to their communities. We currently have about 12 that we deal with in District 6 there. They did not have a chance to load the video, but I do want to do, if I can do it audio, if you will allow me to let you hear it.
Participant of programming services held by Mount Zion Tabernacle Christian Church. When my son first started, he was someone I considered to be an introvert. He was very quiet, shy, and had a fear of speaking in the presence of others, more so a large group. Over time, through participation in their summer camps, attending the tutoring sessions where they were able to assist him in math, also workshops that allowed me to accompany him, I can see an improvement in his people skills, enhancement in his grades, and also for him to be able to determine his own identity and just developing that self-love, that self-worth with individuals that's within the same age group. I'm excited for the services that have been provided, and I can honestly say I can see the growth within my son, and I'm excited for what's yet to come.
So we learn without information, people use their imagination. Thank you for sharing the information that we have today.
Thank you very much to all the presenters, and it's extremely heartening to see the good things that are being done, and it's also sobering to recognize the population that's out there that needs that same kind of attention, many of whom still are not getting it. And so it's something that we can be, extremely happy for and yet sobered about at the same time. Thank you very much.
Before we open it up for discussion, we want to just update you on two things. As you know, Mayor Demings launched the Community Crime Survey on Tuesday, April 10. And in that 1 week period of time, over 700 responses have come in. And for that, we want to say thank you to all of you who have promoted it and distributed it broadly. It's going to be open for individuals to fill it out until May 12. So we want to encourage you to continue to push it forward so that we can have many responses and we can hear from the community at large, and the residents will be able to give necessary feedback. We have it available, as you know, on www.ocfl.net/crime survey. And it is available in English, in Creole, and in Spanish. Second thing we want to update you on is the plan for 2 community meetings. The first community meeting is tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock at Patmos Chapel at the Well Activity Center in Apopka, Florida. We want to make sure that as many as possible from the task force are there, that we're letting our communities know that there is the opportunity for them to be heard. It is important that the voice of the people be part of the equation, the overall equation. So that is tomorrow at 6 o'clock at Patmos Chapel. There will be another one in East Orlando, and you will hear about that soon, the time and the location. There is the opportunity on tomorrow for individuals who can't make it to go on to Patmos Chapel's feeds, both Facebook and YouTube, because it will be streamed on those platforms. I think it's now time for discussion.
Yes, we'll open up for questions or comments, and it will be a limited amount of time because we only have just a few minutes left for us. So if there are any comments, questions that you would like to address in general or specifically to the presenters, this is your opportunity to do so. And if you will just press your microphone, that will show up here, and I will acknowledge you. And so, Marquise.
First, I just want to say, thanks to the mayor and the county for being able to fund a lot of these organizations for the impact and the work they're doing. Most of the times we see in the community, we have organizations that want to provide an impact, but they're just not funded, so it becomes a little hindering block. But what I did in here, and I'm going to hold Mr. Larry Williams a little accountable for this, I think we need more service that's actually inside of the jails. And it may be, but I just didn't hear none of it into so much of the presentations. Why is that important? At the age of 15, I got took out of the juvenile system, charged as an adult, and sent to prison for my very first offense. But it wasn't because, well, the way I am now today, I got to give all credit to John Richter. In 2006, he had a program where I read my first book ever in my life inside of the jail. I got my GED inside of the jail. Those programs are very helpful, and I know we have a lot of prevention, but let's just be honest. Some people are going to go out and commit crimes. They are going to be charged. They are going to go to jail. They are going to go to prison. But having those programs in place before they actually get released is something that's very helpful. So I would consider us, maybe looking at that. And oftentimes I see a lot of programs that are in the jail, they don't receive funding because Tech is like, we're helping criminals, but I think if we do consider putting funding in organizations that are in the jails day to day, that can really help with a lot of things as well when these individuals come out.
I think that's an excellent point. We have the Deputy Chief from Corrections here, and why don't I have him quickly kind of address and respond to it, because there are a lot of programs that we are working inside the walls of the jails, but also from the jail outside as well. So, Chief, if you can respond.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. First of all, Marquise, thank you for mentioning what you did about the jail and the impact that has had on you. Know Mr. Richter extremely well, and he was certainly value added to our organization and made a huge impact interacting and dealing with our youth. In regards to the different programs and services that we offer at the jail, we have a wide array of programs and services that we offer, not only to our youth population, but to our adult population, and they're focused in many areas. As an example, we do have a GED program where we work to help those who need their education or to get their GED. We help them in that regard. We also have several trade programs where we try to prepare individuals when they go back out so that they have gainful employment. In our community, roughly 96 to 97% of the individuals in our custody will go back out to the community. We're very fortunate to have a visionary chief who is committed to providing services and programs to help those who are returning back to our community. We also have a program that deals with veterans where we try to connect them with services when they leave and go back into the community, focus on mental health, housing, helping them acquire their benefits. Many of them come in not even realizing that they qualify for certain veteran benefits, and we help to connect them to those benefits. And then lastly, we also have a construction program that has been very successful where we train individuals to go back out into the community in jobs related to the construction industry. We find those to be very background tolerant, and we have many community partners that we work with so that when they graduate from that program and they go back out, they actually have a job. And many of them have turned that into promotional opportunities and have been able to provide meaningfully for their families. And then lastly, from the standpoint of funding, there is a thing that's known as the Inmate Welfare Fund, and we do fund many of our activities and programs and services through the Inmate Welfare Fund. So with that, I'll just close by saying that our job, what we want in corrections, is not just to be a warehouse for individuals. We want, to the extent that we can, to help those individuals who come into our jail to be able to go back and make meaningful impact within the community. Thank you, Mayor, for that opportunity.
Thank you very much. And your comments highlight the need for good communication so that everyone is aware of what's already there, as well as what we can do in addition. Miles Mulrain.
Thank you so much. I just want to kind of follow up off on what Marquise was saying, and also offer some of the presentations which were very good on the prevention side. I'm on the intervention subcommittee, and one of the things that we talked about, and one of the things that I would want the task force to also know about, is that a lot of the stuff, like we started this task force originally around the violence, the violence that was taking place, the violence that's still taking place. And I think when we go into these task force meetings, last time we had the vision of putting out the recommendations, and a lot of the good recommendations were made, but one thing that I think that we kind of missed on, and I want to kind of focus on too this time around, is the survivors and the victims of the crime and the actual communities. When we're talking about the different subcommittees from prevention to intervention to enforcement, it's kind of like left in the gaps a little bit between intervention and prevention, because what we're seeing is a cycle of violence. And in the past couple of weeks, I've been out to Paramore and Grand, I've been to Carver Shores, been to a couple areas, and one of the things I noticed was when you see the mass shootings in high schools, you see the whole high school get flooded with resources. We've had mass shootings in neighborhoods for years, and we haven't actually flooded them with those resources. And I think what we're missing too is that we want to see more people kind of focus on bringing programs that are going to actually work on the aftermath. A lot of the people who are committing violence were actually victims of violence or seen violence, and it went unchecked. And I think that what we're missing out on sometimes is that we can intervene and we can prevent, but we also need to react to what's going on, and we need to follow up and show the community that we care. So one of the things I would love for us to also focus on is how can we focus on bringing resources for after the effect and making sure that we're permanently giving these communities resources, because it's the same zip codes and we have so many different approaches and we need to utilize all of them. And I just want to see us also focus on the survivors. A lot of people are going out here. I went to the other day on Paramore Grand, people had to leave their house for 3 hours and wait while they did the investigation, and no one was able to actually receive them, talk to them, give them some kind of help. And it's kind of traumatizing to go back in your house after you just know 3 or 4 people got killed right next door. So this happens so often. I want to see us also focus on making sure we give this resources to the communities, and not only the Aspire-based programs, but also the grassroots programs that are on the ground right now in those zip codes and in those areas. So I just wanted to make sure I reiterated that with the actual task force.
Thank you very much. Those are great suggestions, and I think everybody's taking note of them, and you've highlighted something really significant. I'd like to next go to Johnny Brinson, and he will be our last commenter, and then we'll go back to Dr. Doggett to wrap up the program.
First off, I would like to commend OPD and the Sheriff's Office for doing the gun buybacks. As a victim of gun violence, me and my family, I just feel like we should find more creative ways to speak to the youth who are actually out here, like doing all the crimes and stuff like that, because everybody's not going to join a nonprofit or anything like that, you know what I mean? And at the same time, I also would like to use these influencers that they listen to. I heard one of the speakers come up and talk about music, and that's very influential to these teens, you know what I mean? So I really would like to see us try something new and fresh to try to get to the youth that sometimes just can't be reached because they are thinking some type of way. Because I know that there's a lot of artists and stuff in the community that are actually doing good things, so I just felt like we should partner with them. And I know Kicks for Guns is happening in 2 days. I would definitely like to see that push more.
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry that we have to draw it to a close as far as comments go, but don't hesitate to send an email to Carol Burkett, who will be in touch with you, by email, so I know you have her contact information. So any suggestion that you wanted to make today but couldn't because of time, please send an email to her.
Before we turn the microphone back over to our Honorable Mayor, Jerry Demings, we just want to remind you that the next task force meeting is scheduled for May 26 at 1:30 p.m. at Goldenrod Recreation Center, located at 4863 North Goldenrod Road in Winter Park. Ms. Burkett will, in fact, send a reminder to everyone, so check your emails for that reminder, and also please place it in your calendar. In addition, the subcommittees will be meeting in May. We're hoping for 100% attendance and cooperation with those subcommittees. And the calendar is also posted, in case you forget anything, on the Citizen Safety Task Force webpage, which, as you know, is www.ocfl.net/citizens safety.
Dr. Dockett, I think you did an excellent job of kind of summarizing everything, but I do want to remind you all that since the initiation of the very first task force to today, we have some 97 plus different community-based organizations that are the recipients of funding in some sort, and we will continue that. The funding, to speak to what Mr. Moraine was mentioning, is being placed in, it is in the county budget, will continue to be in the county budget. However, this solution cannot just be a public or governmental solution. This is why the integration with the faith community and others is very, very important. We do want to see more engagement with others in this space. One of the things he touched on was really the overall mental health and the mental well-being of a community. And it is important that even when you've been the victim of violent crime and you walk through that experience, what he pointed out there was a family who has to go back into the home, a neighbor or someone else who witnessed it. So we did identify here in Orange County a $49 million gap in services for the mental health well-being of our community. We are in the process of better understanding that. Of that $49 million, in addition to what Orange County was already spending, in the current fiscal year, we allocated an additional $10 million to go to community organizations to provide those services in our community. We're working with our school district. We're working with some other nonprofits. While we close the gap by $10 million of the $49 million, there's still left $39 million of a gap. Florida still ranks near the bottom per capita in what we're spending on providing mental health and substance and behavioral disorder types of services within our community. I want you to understand that we're absolutely committed to working, because I believe a part of that is also a good crime reduction, violent crime reduction strategy. When you can, many of these individuals involved in these mass shootings around the country, if you look at their backgrounds, they have some mental health, mental illness issues, And so I know that for our community, when we have led with a treatment protocol and a public policy where that is first, over the last 2 decades, we have effectively been able to reduce the jail population because we have reduced recidivism when we have gotten people treated for their various issues. And so we remain committed to that. So this is a part of, I think, a greater good that is going on in our community. So with your help, we'll have the right focus. So continue. I encourage all of you to continue bringing it to the forefront. And I promise you that while this task force is meeting, we're going to take very seriously your recommendations. We'll give you some updates and arm you with some knowledge about what is being done, because oftentimes in our community isn't aware of the work that is being done. There's never enough, but we have started this journey together, and so stay on the battlefield is what I'm saying to all of you. Stay encouraged. Continue to look at this as a very objective. We are going to continue hearing from the recipients of the funding so that you can hear what they are doing to validate whether or not the investment that we're making in these different community organizations is working, whether or not it's effective or not. We want results. This isn't, as you heard me say before, this isn't free money. We want results when we engage with these different organizations. So I know the sheriff had to leave, but we appreciate his leadership, and we appreciate Chief Smith from the Orlando Police Department. They've been very, very open. The other mayors here in the area, this is something that is important to them. Here, the local committee of mayors have had conversations about it, so that the criminals don't pay attention to jurisdictional boundaries. They kind of move throughout the entire area. So we have to be on one accord throughout the jurisdictions and not point the finger at various people. I applaud our state attorney, Monique Worrell. She has been open and accessible, and we have to continue working with the state attorney's office as well as we look to these long-term solutions. Our judiciary, our judges are here at the table as well, so appreciate Judge Dawson for his involvement and for all of you. So with that, thank you all for being here. We'll talk to you soon.